Of the original $20 Chi-Fi sensations from Moondrop Chew to the Sound Note Zero to the Truthier Hola, I was actually most impressed with the Tangzu Wan'er, with its fun sound, the strong technical performance, and I awarded it the title of the wild card. Flash forward to now, and Tangzu has developed the predecessor, fittingly named the Tangzu Wan'er II. Let's see if it offers any upgrades and if it lives up to the success of the original. But before we get into that, a like and a sub would really help the channel grow. Alright, let's jump right into it. So the box art for Tangzu has always been quite unique and eye-catching. This one follows that tradition, with a purple theme this time. Last time when we opened the box, there was a whole printed cleaning cloth included, but now it's been replaced with just this little cardboard print. It's kind of a letdown, but I think it's made up for it with something else, so you'll see that later. Next is going to be the foam insert that contains the Wan'er II's inside. For the bottom layer, you'll have two compartments that contain the two massively upgraded accessories. The top box houses our ear tips, which contain two types. One of them is a more generic narrow bore red cord tip with a smoky color, but the other one, the real star of the show, is going to be the Tangzu Tangsankai, included in 3 sizes. This alone, it sells for like $10, so it's a great value add. You get some nice IEMs with your ear tips purchase, baby! And up next is gonna be that cable box, and of course, it contains a revised cable. Now, if you've seen my Wan'er SG video, I dragged that cable through the mud for how bad it is, both aesthetically and ergonomically. Well, this time, Tangzu gives you a really nice 2-braid silver colored cable on this white unit with matte jack parts as well, if you can see that. It feels way better using like standard 2-pin connectors instead of that QDC style KZ inverse 2-pin of the previous cable. And you can also choose a 4.4mm balanced option as well. Although I would have liked to see the return of the printed cloth and maybe an extra carrying case, Tangzu definitely put the savings to good use, diverting the funds on these items in order to significantly improve the cable quality, going from like garbage tier to something that I would actually legitimately use all the time. And of course, the killer inclusion of those Tangsankai ear tips, IMO, it's just a must-have for your tip collection. The Wan'er II's shell has also gotten a facelift, changes the shell shape to be a little bit more, I'd say, rounded. You can see that it's going to be using a nozzle system that's more similar to the one on the higher tier Yuxuanji. Now, the materials, they're mostly still clear plastic, just like the first, but you can see that with the faceplate, you're gonna have a little bit more of a depth effect going on, thanks to the text being more separated from the pattern background. Although it's mostly the same fit and finish as the first Wan'er, some design updates and aesthetic changes have taken the Wan'er II up a notch in terms of how it looks and how it feels. From my testing, the Wan'er II also shares a commonality with its predecessor in that it's a little source dependent. On like a neutral or a bright source, it doesn't perform that well, but it really sings and has just immaculate separation when driven with a certain DAC amp. For my case, it's gonna be the iBasso DX160 with a warm, bright influence. For the ear tips, those Tangsankai ear tips are a good fit for sure. I think they will be your first go-tos when pairing, but my ears, although they don't fare well with foam tips, I've also had limited success with using foamies to tame the treble energy slightly. If you find the Wan'er II to be a bit too strident, then foamies will be your pick. From the graphs, many people, including me, assumed that the Wan'er II is mostly unchanged from the first. And well, the story is a little bit complicated. You get more treble quantity with the Wan'er II. The other frequencies, they remain mostly unchanged, but the general tonality shift of it is much more noticeable. It's going to lean brighter. I'll make quite a few comparisons to the Wan'er SG and the SE sometimes when talking about the Wan'er II's sound. So you'll get a better idea of how all three IEMs sound. The low end on display still brings a wallop of bass to the show. It's got the energy, the meatiness to spice up a sort of hypey mix, and the decay is slightly extended, but this time the presence is going to be a bit more restrained. In real listening, the Wan'er II's bass amount, it sits kind of in between the Wan'er SG and the SE versions. If you really wanted the dynamic driver inside, it can still take quite a bit of EQ as well, so you can just crank the Wan'er II very closely to bass head territory if the situation requires. The lower mid-range on the Wan'er II is a more fun and warmer tuning than the other $20 Chi-Fi peers, and it's a bit better for that, giving melodies a slightly more expressive, kind of analog presentation. Upper mid-range, it also sees some added energy at the penal rise regions compared to the Wan'er SG, giving male vocals a bit more punch, although sometimes it can go a little overboard and introduces some coarseness. Upper mid-range exhibits good vocals, especially female vocals as well. It's energetic, has good quantity in the mix, and it still tops the charts for like macro separation in the price range. The treble registers are where the Wan'er II has seen the most changes, getting a stronger boost compared to that first generation. Although the treble ranges on the IEC 711 clone coupler aren't going to be the most accurate, it at least shows that there's an increase in quantity, which is also confirmed with me doing real listening. This noticeably changes the tonality of the signature. It's going from a warm, strong V shape of the first Wan'er SG to this brighter V shape for the Wan'er II. For a specific example, the sort of hype man chants in the background and the cymbal hits in this modified, revamped version of Kanye's All This Money on the Floor, it has more bite on the Wan'er II, and the of the cowbells in cowbell funk will also be more emphasized. This makes the Wan'er II kind of less forgiving on mixes that depend on sort of distortion to make it work. For example, $1 Million Baby, which sounds a little too grungy and harsh here. But on the other hand, it kind of enhances the cleaner songs with an extra incisiveness for the vocals in the penumbral mix of Clatanoia by Myth and Royd. The width of the Wan'er II stage is about average, slightly surrounding your headspace with the adequate spacing, but height and imaging is similar to the first Wan'er. A bit inconsistent, kind of sliding in between really good territory and kind of underwhelming territory, depending on the song. Technicalities remain unchanged from the first generation, but honestly, the first Wan'er to me was already a chart topper, at least in certain metrics, of the $20 class. So an unchanged performance here still gets the Wan'er II into the top spot. With the right source, the Wan'er II, it still separates macro elements up to like the $50 tier. Even though it's maybe only 10 to 20% of the time, micro detailing is also a bit slightly improved, though I guess this could be partly attributed to the brighter tuning giving a better sense of clarity. Either way, the second gen Wan'er's technical performance, it still outshines the rest of the pack in my book. I know I've alluded to the first Wan'er a lot because it's quite relevant, but let me recap this comparison with a few quick notes. About the unboxing, you lose that nice cloth, but you get upgraded Tangsankai tips and a massively improved cable. Build quality is mostly the same, but the design has been improved. So for the unboxing and accessories, I think it's a true upgrade. For the sound, I think it's more of a flavor change. The bass on the Wan'er SG is a little more present, though quantity and quality wise, the two IEMs should be the same. A similar story for the mid-range as well. Although the second generation Wan'er, it leans just a bit brighter. Treble on the Wan'er SG is more reserved. Some would even say it's a bit rolled off compared to the bass and mids on that one, which are quite bumpy. Whereas the Wan'er II's, the treble is boosted. It makes the Wan'er SG a bit more flexible for many genres, whereas the Wan'er II, it can enhance well-mixed tracks with extra clarity if that's your thing. Technicalities for the most part, I think they maintain similar levels. But hey, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. For the second go at it, I think Tangzu incorporated great improvements to the value aspect of the Wan'er II. Though, I would have liked to see some more tangible technical improvements rather than just tuning changes. Still, the cable and the ear tips alone are worth the upgrade. And I know there's a lot of comments asking for it, so here's how the Tanchjim Bunny fares against the updated Wan'er. Build-wise, I think both are sporting similar plastic builds, but the Bunny's shell is lower profile. But I gotta give it to the Wan'er II for just the more premium cable and the killer Tangsan Kai inclusion. The Bunny, though, it fights back with the DSP cable, offering more playability for EQ lovers. For the sound, you will be seeing two different takes on tuning. The Wan'er II is going for a more bombastic presentation, whilst the Bunny seeks a clean, refined signature, whether on DSP or even on the analog mode. Generally, the bass on the Tangzu IEM, it has more intensity and just more EQ headroom than the conservative kind of percussive low-end style of the Bunny. Whereas mids have a warmer lift for the Wan'er II, the Bunny keeps it neutral. And I would even say that the Tanchjim IEM has more reserved vocal performances, a little less in your face, so to speak. Treble on the Bunny is not that boosted. It doesn't quite match the zinginess found in the Wan'er II, but it's more stable and doesn't vary much in like different songs. You see two different philosophies in tuning as well. The Bunny is an average technical performer, enhanced with a clean tuning, whilst the Wan'er II, it has that pure separation power and that headroom, and it's actively using that headroom to pursue a lively signature without fear of clipping and blurring of the details. The Tangzu Wan'er II builds on its predecessor's success with meaningful upgrades, like the massively improved cable and bundling in the Tangsan Kai ear tips, which by themselves are already a $10 value. Sound-wise, it modifies the original's fun V-shape for brighter energy, which may prove to be a divisive choice. But the macro detail retrieval continues to be top tier for the price. The accessories alone make it just a compelling buy as both an upgrade to the first Wan'er, and its inherent performance is able to stand on its own 2 feet as a standalone release. Thank you to Hi-Fi Go for providing the Tangzu Wan'er II for review. As always, I retain full creative and editorial control, and all that I've shared in this review are my honest thoughts.